Each year in the United States, thousands of major crimes go unsolved. When the case has gone cold and police have nowhere to turn, they seek assistance from the public. This is a program dedicated to solving these cases. This is Crime Stoppers Case Files.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for another Northeast Ohio edition of Crime Stoppers Case Files. I'm Bob Frantz. There are over 1,400 Crime Stoppers organizations operating around the world. These organizations empower citizens like you to become directly and anonymously involved in fighting crime in our communities. We are seeing the positive impact of this every day right here in Northeast Ohio. Crime Stoppers is an important law enforcement tool, a proactive approach to removing dangerous criminals from the streets and making them safer for everyone. Each week on this television program, we'll share facts with you from unsolved cases, and you'll have the opportunity to submit information that may help investigators, possibly earning yourself a cash reward without ever having to give your name. Today, we're spotlighting two murders in which the victims are senior citizens. The first occurred on August 26, 2010, when 87-year-old Phillip Gossett, a decorated war hero, was beaten to death in his own apartment. Here's the story.
My Uncle Phil was a caring, loving person. He would give you the shirt off his back. Phillip is the last of what we've been told are our lives, 22. He's the last of 22. I only remember 5 of them, and they're all deceased now, him being the last one. Living in Cleveland, he has 3 sons that's alive. His son in Kentucky, he passed away approximately 9 months ago. As a matter of fact, it'll be a year in November that his oldest son passed away. His oldest daughter, she's 70, she lives in Lexington, Kentucky. The majority of our family lives in Kentucky. There's a host of nieces, nephews, grandkids, sons, but we do have some still residing here in Cleveland, Ohio. I would stop by periodically to check on him and my other uncle, which was his brother. They both lived in the Pica Towers. My Uncle Ernest, he passed away in 2006, and that just left Phillip there in the Pica Towers. I didn't go there often. I wasn't happy with his living arrangements, but he seemed to like it there, and he made a lot of friends with people there. It was close to St. Vincent Hospital because he didn't drive, so he could just walk across the street for his doctor's appointments and what have you. And like I said, my other uncle lived in the building also, and they had a lot of friends there in the building that they would get together and go fishing. They all got together and did their shopping together. You know, it was a situation like that, or they would sit out in the back and play music. This is what he liked to do. So to try to get him to move away from there, it just wasn't going to happen. And he's been there for quite a while, and he had lived there about 10, 15 years when this happened. In making funeral arrangements, we found out that he was a World War II veteran. I got a hold to his DD-214, which it listed the decorations that he did receive in World War II, and that was the Asiatic Pacific Theater ribbon, along with the Victory Medal and the Bronze Star.
911, do you need police, fire, or an ambulance?
Police.
Where do you need the police?
The Pica Towers, 2250 Community College.
What apartment number?
529.
What's going on?
I found a body. One of the tenants, while making a patrol through the building, I noticed the door was ajar and looked like it was kicked in. And I looked inside, and he's in a chair with a pillow over his head.
With a pillow over his face?
Yeah.
All right, let me transfer you over to the ambulance. Stay on the line.
Thank you.
On Thursday, August 26, 2010, at approximately 2300 hours, which is 11 o'clock p.m., we received a call from police radio to respond to the location of 2250 Community College Avenue, which is the La Pica Towers, for a male dead of suspected violence. Our victim, who was an 87-year-old decorated veteran, was in his apartment when persons unknown forcibly entered his apartment. The suspects made their way into the building either by the elevator or by the stairwells. Whichever way the suspects got into the building, they made their way up to the 5th floor to apartment 529, where Mr. Gossett was. His door had been forcibly kicked in by persons and persons unknown who entered his apartment and assaulted Mr. Gossett. He received blunt force trauma to his head, neck, and chest. The suspects placed a pillow over his head. His neck was compressed. The pillow was possibly the cause of the compression to his neck used to snuff out his life. The pillow was saturated with blood, and there was blood coming from the victim's mouth. Upon our arrival, we went to apartment number 529, and as we got to the door, we observed that the door had apparently been forced open. The lock was broken, and upon entering the efficiency suite, we observed the victim sitting in a chair with a bloody pillow covering his face. It was apparent that the gentleman had expired. Mr. Gossett's building is very busy. There's only video surveillance cameras on the front doors, and there's many other ways that intruders could have gotten into the building and up to his apartment.
When the coroner's office called me to let me know that it was okay to go into the apartment, we went there, and I was just amazed at what I saw when I went into his apartment. It was blood splatter all on the wall, it was blood on the chair. It was just blood everywhere. When I saw his body, it was just a horrible thing what they did to that man.
On August 26, 2010, at approximately 11 o'clock p.m., 87-year-old Phillip Gossett was found in his apartment murdered.
Someone had kicked his door in, had badly beaten him, strangled him.
Whichever way the suspects got into the building, they made their way up to the 5th floor to apartment 529, where Mr. Gossett was. They kicked in his door, approached him, and at that time assaulted him. The suspects placed a pillow over his head. His neck was compressed. The pillow was possibly the cause of the compression to his neck used to snuff out his life. Well, the security officer, he was making his rounds, walked by the victim's door and observed that there had been damage to the door. He stepped inside, and that's where he discovered our victim. All of his property seemed undisturbed, so we don't know if robbery was the motive to this crime or not. Everybody in the building knew Mr. Phil. They liked him very much. They said he was a wonderful guy. Everyone you talked to was concerned about what happened to Mr. Phil.
I woke up Friday morning and I had a body to deal with. Probably would have been a little different if he had died of a disease or something like that, but this put a whole different spin on everything. I watched this show a lot, and it's the same thing with every family. People are just afraid to speak out and tell what they know, but until you are in my shoes or until you're on the other side, you don't know how it feels to have someone murdered in the manner in which he was murdered. So whoever knows anything about this case, I would just behoove you to call the detectives that's investigating this case and let them know what you know, because you never know. You may be sitting here one day yourself, and you would want someone to do the same thing for you and your family.
A decorated veteran had to die this way. There's no reason for it. This man needs justice, and we hope that somebody will come forward with the information if they know anything about this case.
The person or persons who killed Mr. Gossett was strong enough to kick in the door to his apartment. After beating him relentlessly, they smothered this defenseless 87-year-old man with a pillow. This is an especially disturbing case, a case we need to solve. When ruthless killers are preying on senior citizens, a civilized community needs to act. Someone out there knows something. Maybe it's you. And coming up, another elderly victim, 78-year-old West Side landlord Catalina Piedra. That's next when we return with Crime Stoppers Case File. On May 19, 2006, a killer entered the West Side home of 78-year-old Catalina Piedra and proceeded to beat her to death. Here's the story.
My mom was a beautiful woman with a big heart, well known by the community, well loved, hardworking. My mother came here in the early 60s to start a business, a real estate business. Very hardworking, her and my dad, and to raise a family, myself and my sister. When she came in the early 60s, she worked first for Hallie's to make a little bit of money to later on buy real estate, so that by that she could raise her family and make a good life and an honest life here in the United States.
My grandmother raised me. You know, she was a loving person, a caring. You can always count on her, trust her. She had a beautiful smile. She was a person you can always, if you needed something, you can go to her. If you needed a place to live and you didn't have a lot of money or something, she'd roof you. If you needed some work, she'd give you a job. She was a very extraordinary lady.
Oh, she was a great mom, the best. I love my mom very much, miss her very much. Very good mom and an awesome grandmother because, well, when I was young, I wanted to go out, do things, and she kept my kids. I mean, just a loving, very loving mom. And yes, she made honest and good people out of all of us. Very well loved by many, very well missed by many to this day.
On Friday, May 19, 2006, at the location of 3230 West 31st Street at approximately 11:15 p.m., we received a call to respond to that address for a possible victim of a homicide. When we entered the home, we found the victim lying on the floor against the wall in a semi-fetal position. There was no forced entry into her home. We believe that whoever did this to her was known by the victim. Catalina Piedra was a landowner. She owned many properties, and it was rumored that she kept a lot of money in the house. Her bedroom was neatly kept. There was a lot of paperwork on the dresser along with keys for her properties. This lady was very meticulous in her business, and she tried to help out people by hiring people that needed jobs. She hired several handymen, and this might have been her downfall. The assailant was possibly led into the house by the victim. We don't know if there was an argument or an attempted robbery of the home at this time, but there was a sign of struggle. The victim was struck several times to the side of the head with a blunt object, but it didn't look like anything was taken from that room. There was blood in the area. There was a lot of blood by the victim's head. She was definitely deceased at this time. We interviewed the neighbors. Nobody reported hearing or seeing anything.
A neighbor had called many times to my home saying she couldn't get a hold of my mom. Well, later on that evening, she popped in at my house, wanted me to go knock, ring the doorbell, and try the lock on the door, which I didn't do. I called the police because there was just this eerie feeling like something just was not right. And when they went in, shortly after they came out, it said my mom had passed away.
On Friday, May 19, 2006, our victim, Catalina Piedra, was found bludgeoned to death in her bedroom. When we entered the home, we found the victim lying on the floor against the wall in a semi-fetal position. There was no forced entry into her home. We believe that whoever did this to her was known by the victim. Catalina Piedra was a landowner. She owned many properties, and it was rumored that she kept a lot of money in the house. This lady was very meticulous in her business, and she tried to help out people by hiring people that needed jobs. The assailant was possibly led into the house by the victim. We don't know if there was an argument or an attempted robbery of the home at this time, but there was a sign of struggle. The victim was struck several times to the side of the head with a blunt object. Mrs. Piedra was an immigrant from Cuba. She worked very hard. She built up many properties over the years, and it's a shame that she had to meet her demise in this way. Everybody we spoke to said she was a fine lady and she was fair. She tried to treat everybody well, and whoever did this may have taken advantage of her kindness for weakness.
This is a woman that was in her own home, minding her business, where she should have felt safe And she should have felt comfortable. She should have felt the protection of her neighbors. They came in, they did what they did to her. No one heard or seen anything. And it just strikes me to be unreal.
I'm traumatized forever. I have no mother, no love of a mother, no help, no advice. I miss my mom so very much. It's changed my life forever. I will never be the same person, never.
And the thing that gets me a lot is I wonder what she could have been thinking at the moment, which really sticks me every day, really hurts me and haunts me.
But she didn't harm anyone. She was 4'2", a little woman. She didn't bother anybody. She brought good to the family and the neighborhood and community. That's why it upsets me that nobody has come forth to say anything. If you were a friend, then you should speak and come forth for her.
We would love to know why. Why would you take somebody's life? And justice for Catalina is what we want. Somebody put behind bars forever.
Don't be a coward. It's anonymous. Nobody has to know. You're doing something good in the name of God. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt love your neighbor. What happened to all that? Where did it go? You know, all we want is justice for her. And truthfully, only the community and friends and family can help the detectives. We're the only ones that can bring it for her, but not sitting home just talking about the day she was murdered. Let's talk about the day the murder was solved.
Mrs. Piedra's family believes she knew her killer. They say she would never have allowed a stranger into her home. Once again, this is the type of crime that demands action. A concerned community, a caring community, a civilized community will not allow the murder of a defenseless elderly woman to go unpunished. Police, sadly, have little to go on in trying to solve this case, so we're turning to you. Thank you for joining us for Crime Stoppers Case Files, where you are empowered to help clean up our streets. Remember, our towns and our neighborhoods are a direct reflection of what we allow them to be. So let's all do our part to make them safe. And we'll see you next week for another edition of Crime Stoppers Case Files.